My name is Vishal Talreja. I'm called a social entrepreneur. I will take you through a journey of a so-called social entrepreneur. How did I really become a social entrepreneur? I believe that in life, there are always dots that connect us. The experiences and memories that we build do make who we are today. My earliest memories as a child are of not being allowed to play with kids on the street. The only difference being that those kids lived in shanties and I had a concrete house. And I missed playing with them because they had a lot more fun. I remember during festivals like Diwali and Holi, my mom would give me 10 rupees and say, give it to the maid who used to work at our house. The maid would be my grandma's age, and I as a young child would wonder, why is she standing in front of me with folded hands? The answers that I got were, that's how things are. I remember once there was a beggar that came at home, and I saw a 50 rupee note lying around, and I gave it to the beggar because it seemed like he needed it, and I got grounded for it. So these are some of the experiences I remember of a lot of questions of why things are different between people in our society, but no answers. In 1999, just after finishing college, I got a chance to go on an exchange program to Finland. Finland was the first step of change that happened in my life. I made friends with a girl who used to work at a bar in the evenings to pay for her education. My first reaction to that was, how could I be friends with someone who works at a bar? I would never do that back in India. I was invited to dinner at a friend's place, and they were cooking Indian food for me. A beautiful 2-bedroom house, lovely furnishing. The gentleman who had invited me went into his room, brought out a uniform to tell me what he does for a living. He brought out a uniform of a security guard. He was a security guard at a 5-star hotel. What do you think my first reaction was? My first reaction was, how could I be having dinner with someone who's a security guard? I would never do that in India. I have never done that in India. That's when I started questioning why things are the way they are. I came back, started talking to friends about it. I wrote a small note in my diary in Finland, and I said, I want to do something about dignity of labor back in my country. Why should a maidservant or a vegetable vendor or a driver or someone who gives us invaluable services on a daily basis be treated as an invisible in our society? Came back, started speaking to a bunch of friends, and we started an organization called DreamADream. We had no agenda, we had no clue what we wanted to do, but we wanted to spread some happiness. We started working with a group of HIV-positive children living in an isolated shelter home. Before we went there, no one would ever go and spend time with these children. The day we went into this shelter, we were scared. We didn't know if we could play with them, we could touch them, we could hug them. The children didn't give us a chance. The minute we parked our bikes, the children were all over us, tugging at our shirts, pulling at our hair, asking us where we were taking them out. In about 3 months, the children's health improved. The reason being that every Sunday we would have a bunch of people going and visiting these children, playing with them, caring for them, which these children never got. The children started taking their medicines on time because they felt that only if I take my medicines on time and I'm feeling well, the uncles and aunties will take me out. If not, I have to stay back. I moved to Bombay to work for an investment bank before I moved into DreamADream full-time. A startup investment bank. It was really exciting because I thought, okay, if I need to do some kind of social change, I need money. Investment banking during the 1998-99 boom was probably the best way to make quick money. I landed up in Mumbai. I started volunteering for an organization there. We used to take a bunch of street children to adventure camps in places like Mathiran. I remember having a conversation with a bunch of young adults from the streets at this camp. And we were asking them, why did you take drugs? You know it's bad for you. why are you spoiling and screwing up your life by taking drugs? And I had this cheeky young man turn around and say, do you think we like taking drugs? When you're living on the streets, when you don't have food to eat, when you don't know who's going to come and abuse you, when you don't know when a cop is going to come around the corner and beat you up, the only way to ensure that I don't remember what happens in the night is to get stoned out and sleep. That shocked me out of my wits. I also have to tell you about my first sweetheart. It was another camp with a bunch of street kids, and there's this absolutely beautiful 6-year-old girl. All through the 4 days of the camp, she didn't say a word. We tried cajoling her, we tried playing with her, we tried talking to her, she wouldn't speak a word. On the last day, from Matharan, we had to walk back to take the train, and just out of nowhere, she quietly came and held my hand. And we started walking together. It was a 1-hour walk, and that 1 hour, she just held my hand and walked without saying a word. As I dropped her off at Dadar station to go to her own shelter home, she refused to leave. She started crying, and she said, either you come with me, or you take me home with you. I don't want to go back. I realized for the first time the importance of love, caring, and compassion in a child's life. I visited Kamathipura, which is one of the red light areas in Mumbai, to a school, a beautiful school for children of commercial sex workers. The school used to lock up the children inside the school to make sure they're safe during the day. One more experience of shock, the way we treat children in this country. My investment banking experience, of course, gave me a lot of experience in learning and building an organization, about building a strong, transparent, accountable organization, and I brought that into my experience. I remember an outdoor camp in Bangalore that I went to, and there was this bunch of children who were part of the camp. It's very early on our DreamADream. There was this girl who came up to me at the end of the camp, and she said, I want you to be my father. And I was this young 21-year-old, okay, hadn't even had my first girlfriend yet. And there's this young girl coming up to me saying, I want you to be my father. Why? Because over the last 4 days, she had not got beaten up in the outdoor camp. And her father used to beat her up. What do I do as a social entrepreneur? I built all these experiences, I built these memories, but I had to channelize them into some kind of an action. And that's when I moved into DreamADream full-time. What do we do at DreamADream? We empower children and sensitize the community. We had to learn a lot. I had to learn quite a bit. I was a young 22-year-old when I moved into DreamADream. I had no clue about what needed to be done. I just knew what was wrong. So we started understanding what is wrong. If you look at the triangle, if you look at children on the streets outside the triangle, the first step is to put them into some kind of a protective environment and make sure the basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, and education are met. As part of a shelter home, they probably stay in a shelter home for 10-15 years, go into a vocational training or higher education program. At the age of 18-19, they're asked to leave the shelter, and we feel that they're empowered. We believe there's a critical missing link there. At 18, how many of us actually know how to make money? At 18, how many of us are able to make our own decisions and choices in life? How many of us are confidently able to say that, yes, I want to be an engineer and not an artist? But we're still able to answer those questions because we have a support system and we have learning exposures. A child from a shelter home or from a slum community does not get that. That's why these children keep dropping out of the system. If you look at the triangle right at the top, there's probably about 30% of the children who on their own willpower are able to make it. Most of them go back to the streets. What did we learn? For normal childhood development, you need basic needs and emotional, mental, and physical needs of the child need to be met. What we at DreamADream define as life skills. Children learn in fun, engaging, and experiential environments. How many of us have really enjoyed the football games that we played as children? The gilli danda, the lagori that we played as children? How many of us have really enjoyed being part of a music program in school or a theatre program in school? we as children learn in a fun experiential environment. It's important to meet all the basic rights of children, of protection, survival, development and participation. At DreamADream, we are focusing on the right to development, to allow a child or give the choice to the child to develop fully as an individual. We also believe volunteering is powerful. When DreamADream started, 12 of us started the organization, we were all volunteers. For 2 years, 150 volunteers ran the organization. What really happened in the volunteering experience is that we as human beings changed. And that was very powerful. We also believe scale is very important to get ahead of the problem. Every day there are children coming into urban slum communities, from small towns, from villages, losing their livelihoods there, coming into cities, and cities are bursting at the seams. At some point in time, someone has to get ahead of the problem, find the solutions. The DreamADream idea, very simply put, we empower children with life skills, we sensitize the community through active volunteering, and we do this through a strong collaborative approach. Now, why is it important to sensitize the community? Why is it important for you guys sitting here to be sensitized? Because we in India come from 200, 300 years of class and caste system. We grow up thinking class differences are all right. We grow up thinking it's all right for the maids in our house to sit in the kitchen, have a separate plate, and eat separately. We grow up thinking it's all right not to acknowledge the waiters in the restaurants that we go to. We grow up thinking it's all right to actually mistreat them. We grow up thinking that's all right. Now, we might empower these children that we're working with at DreamADream with all the life skills that they want. But if we as society do not acknowledge and appreciate for who they are, instead of looking at their backgrounds, empowerment is meaningless. Until unless we as a society become more sensitive, empowerment is meaningless. How do we do it? In the last 10 years, we've worked with 3,000 children, boys and girls. We use mediums of sports, creative arts, computer education, mentoring, outdoor adventure camps to build life skills in these children. Again, fun and experiential learning environments. What has the impact been? These are just some of the stories that I want to talk to you about. Okay, what you see here is a bunch of kids who were part of our hockey program about 7 years back. The kid right at the front with a white and pink shirt today is a 19-year-old running his own contracting business, offering outsourcing services for office administration. The 2 other kids in that photograph and in the next one, two of them came from highly violent backgrounds. When we first gave them the hockey stick, the first thing that they did was beat up another child. In 6 months, they channelized that violence into playing good sport. These two play at league level teams today while also working at DreamADream as sports leaders. So these are the 3 kids I'm talking about, 7 years down the line, all 3 of them 19 years old, doing extremely well in life. There's Prabhu there on the left, where you can see the arrow. He runs his own event management company now, organizing local musical events, band shows, local festivals. He's not completed his 10th standard, but he's very entrepreneurial. That's Jayanti. When she started at DreamADream, she was 6 years old. Today she's one fine football player. She's still young, going to school. She plays phenomenal football. We have a rugby program. The rugby program actually has more girls than boys. Girls love playing rugby and thrashing the boys. There's John there sitting down. He actually has attempted to run away from the shelter home like 1,000,000 times. And finally we found him a mentor, a volunteer like yourself, who came and spent a year with him and finally has given him the direction in life that he really needs. How did we impact volunteers? The person you see sitting there is actually an ex-Bitsian, okay, Krishna, who volunteered with DreamADream, got onto the board of DreamADream, today runs his own organization which promotes the social sector through e-mediums. The gentleman standing right behind the hockey team is a guy called Shashank from IIT. He got so influenced by the hockey program that we run that he actually started his own hockey initiative promoting the game of hockey among government school children. Today this initiative is in 4 cities across India, and he still has a software job. What next? It's not all that good yet. I want to share with you the story of a young kid that we lost last year. Manoj, when I first met him, he was 11 years old. Beautiful twinkling eyes, eyes that you would just say he's a big brat. He had just dropped out of school because he had got beaten up in school, and he refused to go back to school. When he came into our center, he would love hanging around with us, playing on the computer, wouldn't bother anyone. But in the neighborhood, he was known as the local thief, 11-year-old. Anything got stolen in his slum neighborhood, he would be blamed for it and he would get beaten up for it. He also went to the juvenile observation home a few times. We tried everything we could to rehabilitate him, but he kept running out of the system. One day he stole a TVS and he was learning how to ride it, and he got hit by a car and got killed. That, for me, was a failure of the society that we live in today. The only reason he would steal is so that he could feed himself. And we're still living in a society where we cannot provide basic food to the children that we have in our society. And as long as this continues, any development that we show is meaningless. What's next is you. If you want to remove poverty from this country, if you want to make sure children in our country are empowered, it cannot be done alone. It cannot be done by a bunch of 100, 200,000 NGOs. It needs you and me to change attitudes in our society, to change ourselves, and start acknowledging and respecting people and children in our society. So as you walk out of the room today, walk out, find the person that you've never acknowledged in your life, be it the guy at the canteen who serves you tea, coffee every day, or the security guard who ensures you're safe in this campus. Go and thank them for who they are. And believe me, you will change. Thank you.